Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to my channel. It's Allison here with the Everyday Scrapbooker, and I'm dropping in again today with another layout to share with you. Today's layout is a double page layout, and I was scrapbooking pictures of a tiny little road trip that my husband and I took with our kids just outside of town, not too far from our house, a couple springs ago. It was kind of a really rocky spring. We live in a river valley. We're surrounded by two rivers, and there were lots of ice jams and ice backing up the water, making things not so good with people living in our area. There was flooding and lots of flood warnings and that sort of thing because of the ice jams. So we decided, after all the danger was past and gone, that we were going to drive out to a campground not too far from our place, out at a place called Windfall, just to kind of see what there was, if there's anything left behind, see what we could see, kind of thing. We totally were not prepared for what was left behind and what we saw. There were still a lot of icebergs left around. We could see how far the water had backed up the hills, up the river valley. It was pretty incredible, and kind of just gave you an idea of the sheer power of nature. Oh, explaining that to you was painful. Hopefully I did a little better in my journaling. I sat down at my computer and typed it up, and then trimmed some white cardstock down to 8.5 by 11 and printed it on my printer. I had a lot to say about this little road trip, and so my journaling is fairly lengthy, and because of that, it turned into a double page layout. I originally was gunning for a single page layout, but between the pictures and then the lengthy journaling that I had, obviously it wasn't going to work out. I decided to frame the journaling with some 3x4 sized photos to the left side of the journaling, and I just adhered them in a haphazard way, just to give it sort of a junk journal, scrapbooky type of vibe. When I first got to looking at these pictures, the first thing I noticed was the yellow in the girders on the bridge, and the first thing I thought of that would coordinate with those pictures was hawthorn. So I have hawthorn embellishments and the sticker sheet there, and I also used just some scraps from the paper collection as well to embellish this layout. Originally, I just pulled out sangria and saffron cardstock, and that's what I was going to use to begin with. But I wasn't too crazy about two bold colors paired together and placed with those pictures. So I ended up cutting this cut file, the arrow starburst cut file on my Cricut, and made a border at the bottom of each of the pages in this double page layout, just to kind of scale back how heavy I thought it would feel color-wise. I also decided to pull in my favorite white cardstock as well, and made that the star of the show sort of thing. I especially love how the cut files worked in my layout. They help draw your eye directly to the focal points in some of the pictures that I have posted to my layouts. Adhered on my layouts. So the one that you see in front of you right now with me standing next to that giant iceberg, the focal point of the die cut points really directly to that iceberg. Can you see it? To me, it's just perfect. I couldn't have chosen a better cut file to work with for this double page layout, and it wasn't planned. I cut it because I liked it and I thought it would work, and at the time I cut it, I didn't realize how well it was going to work until I started gluing everything together. I adhered some of the stickers from the sticker sheet from Hawthorne to some white cardstock, because I wasn't entirely sure where I was going to put them, and I didn't want it to wreck the paper if I kept moving the stickers around and it got like too stuck to the paper. So that's a little trick that I use in my crafting. I know there's other things out there that you can use, like pouring some cornstarch or some sort of powder onto your stickers to make them not sticky. I just stick them to some scrap paper and play around with them that way until I'm certain they're going to live in that spot, and then glue them down. So I'm just playing around right now with the title and title placement. I really moved back and forth a lot on this page trying to figure out where I wanted to put the title. I liked it above the pictures, but I also liked it below the pictures, and I wasn't 100% sure about the trees. And in the end, I actually did away with the trees and didn't include them at all, because it was another color that I was adding and I didn't want to have to fuss and worry about adding that color, the green, to page 1 in the double page layout. So I just scrapped it totally. I decided to stamp my letters on scrap cardstock as well. I was a little too afraid to commit to stamping it directly to the layout base. So to stay safe, I just used some scrap paper, stamped it so that it was wide enough that I could cut each of the letters out, and then I could play around with my title some more before actually committing to gluing it down. You probably noticed it just a second ago in the video, but I used espresso ink to stamp the title, and then I'm using my microtip scissors to fussy cut them out. And I went out on a limb this time with my fussy cutting and decided to cut out the centers of the A and the E. Typically, I don't do that. I just leave them alone because I feel like when I try and cut them out, 3-year-old went to town on my letters and not the lady that I am now. I'm not giving away my age. That's a closely guarded secret. But I actually like the way that it turned out. I should probably do this a little bit more in my crafting and not be so cautious and safe, and just let go and have fun. To cut the centers of the letters out, I used my scissors to stab a hole in the very center of the space that I planned on cutting out, and then slowly started cutting outwards until I reached the outline of the stamped image, but leaving enough of a white border that there was still a white border left inside as well, so that it matched the rest of my fussy cut letters as well. There's other tools out there as well that would achieve this, like knives. Knives and I don't get along. We don't mix, and so I stick with scissors so that I don't end up with missing fingers or cuts or anything like that. So that's why I chose scissors. The title for this layout was such a struggle for me. I had a really hard time coming up with something that was short and sweet, but really conveyed the message of the shock and surprise that we felt when we come out to Windfall and saw all these icebergs littering the campground and still lying along the riverbank. It was really, I don't know about the rest of my family, but it really kind of made an impression on me, which is why it is now being scrapbooked. But when I come across the 2 stickers that you see there, it says, check this out. It worked perfectly with my title, and I knew that those 3 pieces had to be put together in some way, shape, or form, either above the pictures or below the pictures. And in the end, I do decide to adhere the title below the pictures and kind of cluster a few other elements along with it as well. But then I was left with a bunch of this white space near the top of the layout, and I didn't really know how to fill that either. So I ended up taking a sticker border from the sticker sheet and putting it at the top of the layout and adding a few other stickers and the date just to fill it up a little bit more. Now I'm just putting together the title and title cluster. I've got a few other stickers and embellishments from the Hawthorne collection that I'm kind of adhering together and making a cute little cluster. Hawthorne is not available from Close to My Heart anymore. It retired along with October. And we are in a new catalog cycle with Close to My Heart, so new products are now available, so watch for that. The items and products that I use for this layout, what is still available is going to be listed down in the description at the bottom of this video. Feel free to go and check that out. Now I'm just adding a few other stickers from the sticker sheet to my scrap white cardstock so I can move them around until I'm happy with where they're going to live, and then I'll glue them down. Once all the fussy cutting is done and I'm ready to adhere my title and cluster to the layout, I'm going to use foam squares to adhere "awe" to the layout, and then the rest of the cluster and elements that go in that part of it are just going to be glued with a tape runner just to create some dimension and depth in the page. I'm really conscious of the fact that the focal point of the die cut underneath the title is to the left of the title. I'm really trying hard to be conscious of the fact that I don't want it covered. I want that focal point there so that it will draw naturally your eye right up to the photo and you can see the iceberg that I'm standing next to and the sheer size of it. With a simple trick like visual effects, and I'm letting the die cut do the work for me to help draw your eye around the layout. The same is true in page 1 as well. It does a really fantastic job of drawing your eye up to the photos that are on the left side of the journaling as well, which is really the focal point. And that's what I want you to really notice about the layouts is the pictures. I want them to tell the story. I really liked the small bits of torn Hawthorne pattern paper that I included in page 1 and page 2 of this double page layout. As I was gluing this particular strip, I wasn't sure if I wanted to use side A or B. I ended up sticking with side A because I like that saffron so much. I really liked the look of the torn paper too. It doesn't have clean edges like the rest of the layout does. And I thought it helped tie in the rough nature of the ice that is the main story in my layout as well. So here I'm trying to figure out how to fill in the white space at the top of page 2 in this layout. I wasn't really sure what I was going to do. I threw some embellishments from the compliments sheet in the Hawthorne collection up at the top there. Didn't really care for them, so pulled them off and kept coming back to a date sticker that was on the sticker sheet, thinking to myself, you know, it looks pretty chunky and pretty big. I don't know if it's really going to work up there. But I threw it up there on a whim just to kind of see what I thought, and it actually worked. So I created a little cluster up there as well. You'll see that in a little bit here. I just went back to page 1 because I knew what I wanted to do with the little embellishment cluster there. So I decided to just go ahead and stick it to the paper and be done with it. So there you see it. I think I ended up moving this little piece down a little bit more because I had it further down along the journaling and liked how it sat there better than at the top of the page. I also wanted to be sure there was balance between both pages as well. And I thought if I had that little tiny strip closer to the top of the page, it would feel a little cumbersome having the title up in the left-hand corner on page 2 and then that little embellishment cluster sort of right next to it. I wanted there to be some separation, and once again, like the idea of 3 is the triangle, just drawing your eye around the page so it's not too bulky and clunky. Off camera, I went and cut some more leaves using some Close to My Heart thin cuts. The 2 leaves that you see over top of the picture right now are cut with the leaf thin cut. And I just layered it over top of some scrap watercolor paper that I had painted in sort of reds and purples, and I thought coordinated with the red in the one leaf that is already in the title cluster really, really well. Because of that red leaf, I decided I wanted to pull more red into the layout. And that's where the idea from these leaves, that's where the idea for these leaves came from. Holy, I'm tripping over my words. I also, you'll see my little tweezers there, pulled out my tweezers as well to help aid in putting things together. It's a really useful little tool. If you're not using your scissors to help you scoop things up and pick things up, tweezers are wonderful as an extension of your fingers as well for helping you in your crafting. I layered 2 die cut leaves underneath the title. This is the title sticker that I was talking about, and the date sticker that I was talking about, and the little embellishment cluster that I decided to create using that sticker. I used my date stamp to stamp the date on it, and then I used foam squares to pop that up a little bit as well, so that there's a little bit more dimension and height in the layout. I love how this draws your eye right up to the top of the page without making it feel really bulky and cumbersome. I also decided that I should probably add some leaves to page 1 as well in the red, but I didn't want leaves that were quite as big either, so I cut some different leaves from the Layered Leaves thin cut stamp set and actually cut them apart and glued one of them at least to the little embellishment cluster with the arrow that I was working on just a couple of minutes ago. And then I cut just a couple more leaves from the leaf set. Here's the leaf that I was telling you about from the Layered Leaves stamp set. I cut 2 other leaves that were the same as the original leaves. Am I confusing you yet? I'm confusing myself. Okay, so let's just back the bus up a little bit. So this leaf is from the Layered Leaves thin cut set. I just cut the negative portion of the leaf, layered it on some watercolor paper, and just adhered it to the little tiny embellishment cluster there. I kind of played a little bit with adding the rest of that leaf to it as well, but I didn't like it. It was a little too clunky and cumbersome, so I just left it out. The 2 leaves that you see as part of the date cluster, I cut 2 more of those and added them over the pictures on the left-hand side of page 1, just to keep drawing your eye across both pages, because there's a lot of space to take in and it did need a little bit of embellishing. So I'm just playing around with placement with those 2 leaves as well. I end up leaving them where I've just moved them right now. I liked where they fit right there and decided to make it permanent. You'll see throughout the video that I've kept both pages together for the most part, because I'm trying to keep what each of the pages looks like fresh in my mind together. And if I move one off to the side and just work on one individually, in my brain I can't visualize what the other page looks like, and I want to be absolutely certain that they're balanced and everything is not localized to one place on the page sort of thing. So you'll see me moving them back and forth, have one page for a little bit and then both back together, and then back and forth between both pages, just so I can keep things straight in my brain. I've got to be sure everything jives, you know? After I've got all my still shots, like pictures taken for this video and for posting around on my social media and stuff, I decided to change the leaf that's glued to the photo. So instead of having it pointing towards the journaling, I'm gonna switch the direction of it so it points away from the journaling. The second leaf now, I'm actually going to glue it to the bottom side of the photo, and then decided, just to ensure that it doesn't go anywhere, I added another foam square so that it's anchored directly to the layout base. Here I'm just playing with stickers from Heart Happy? I can't remember. I was just looking at it. I can't remember the name of it again now. But anyways, I really like the little word phrases that are included in this collection. I actually was thinking to myself as I was putting this layout together that I need to find a sticker book of these types of things, because I really like using them and sprinkling them around my pages. I wish I had more of them. I liked that the yellow really sort of picked up the yellow in the saffron. It's lighter than the saffron, but it still worked. It's in the same color family. So I just scattered them around page 1 and page 2. They had fun little phrases on them that I thought worked well with the story and the layout. The sticker at the top there says "so much fun." And at the moment, I can't remember what the other one says that I glued down. And that pretty much sums up this double page layout. Thank you so much for joining me again today, you guys. I hope you enjoyed the video that I shared with you. If you did enjoy this video, please make sure you hit the like button. And if you would like to see more techniques and process videos from me, make sure you hit the subscribe button and click the little bell so you miss nothing from me. Thanks for joining me. I will talk to you guys again soon. Bye.